You're watching Oilers Nation Everyday with Tyler Yaremchuk. Your one-stop shop for all things Oilers.
Oh,
You're supposed to do it too.
you didn't say anything. Oh, that's 8.
Let's get into it with the lead. Hopefully the Oilers are more on the same page than we are.
The 1972 Summit Series where ties counted and it went to 8 games, Liam.
Welcome into Oilers Nation Everyday, Game 7 edition of the show. Dun, dun. It all comes down to tonight. Dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun.
How not on the same page are we? Liam didn't know how many fingers 7 were.
Yeah.
Jay, despite doing every or close to every Giant pregame show or Giant game day edition of the show throughout the year, walked in and said, "Oh, did you want me on the show today?"
I texted Tyler saying there should be an O&E today. He's like, absolutely. But he's like, we got a loaded show. And he like named like 6 people that are coming on. And I'm like, so I think he's trying to push me out.
I would never do that.
So then I only give myself, so I'm only going to join for the first 30 minutes.
What group chat was that even in?
I don't even know. There's so many.
We're in so many group chats. Anyways, yeah, let's go. Giddy up. Oilers Canucks, Game 7 tonight. Welcome into the show from the Sports Closet Studio, live on the Oilers Nation YouTube, where I'm sure you were all nice and fired up for this one here tonight. First comment that was in was Hobo Stanks. That's a weird name. 2-1 nail biter OT winner by Bouchard.
No OT. No OT.
I would die. I would cease to exist.
Well, in hindsight, when we win in OT,
Yeah.
that'd be amazing. But I'm not betting for extra time.
No, we will get into, everything we're expecting from this hockey game here tonight. We're going to get to your takes over in the YouTube chat as well. And as Jay kind of alluded to, we have an absolutely loaded show today for Game 7. Jason Demers in about 15 minutes, and it's Frank Seravalli coming up after that. And then it's DJ Bean at 1 o'clock as well. So we got our 3 big hitters here for a Game 7 edition of the program. Of course, getting to this point wasn't exactly a guarantee for the Edmonton Oilers. With their backs against the wall, they had to go out and win a pivotal Game 6 on home ice on Saturday night, and what a night it was. Let's get into what'll be our game recap, and it is brought to you by Wendy's. Wendy's only uses fresh, never frozen Canadian beef in all of their burgers, whether it's a Baconator, Dave Single, or even a JBC. You'll only ever find real fresh beef that's real juicy and loaded with fresh toppings. Download the Wendy's app today to check out the latest deals. Gentlemen, that game, you could sense the nervous energy in the building.
Yeah, leading up to it. Yep.
And I mean, AB and I did pre-gaming from Greta. We were both very, very confident in this game. And I even said in the day leading up to it, like, I was like, I'm not worried about Game 6. I'm worried about Game 7 already, because it felt like the Oilers were due to have a performance like they did. And early on, finally, like, again, they haven't had their B+ level all series. They finally got at least their B+ level. Maybe you could argue a little bit better than that. They win 5-1. They outshoot the Canucks 27-15 as well. Moving along this one in chronological order, if we want to. 9 minutes in, Dylan Holloway off the feed from Leon Draisaitl makes just what is flat out a very high skilled play. He cuts around one defender at the blue line, catches
one defender.
I was going to say, it wasn't just one
Quinn
defender.
Hughes,
the future Norris winner,
made him look like a pylon.
It was actually crazy. Like both of them, like that's Pettersson and Hughes.
Yeah, Pettersson really involved in the play there. And then he catches the other D-man flat-footed, tucks it in 5-hole. This is why you play young, skilled players. Because right, and everyone loved it, or not everyone, the detractors before the series were like, well, you can't move him into the top 6 because Corey Perry's a good veteran in the playoffs, and you can't move him ahead of Matthias Janmark because Janmark gives you this nice floor and he doesn't make mistakes. But at the end of the day, you play guys with the skill of Dylan Holloway for game-breaking plays, and what this was exactly that, a game-breaking play. This changed the trajectory.
This is our Stankoven.
It is. This changed the trajectory of the game and in turn changed the trajectory of the series.
Yeah, I mean, it was, what do people saying? A young Connor McDavid. It was just an amazing goal.
It looked so thick.
You take the numbers off.
He ran out of room. Like, he literally skated as close as he could to see Les Paul pulling the trigger on that, and just like, what a almost a perfect player to actually get the scoring going. It wasn't McDavid or Draisaitl. It was a guy who hasn't scored since game 2 of the series, and he's played of the LA series. He's played really, really well, and together, like, that's only got to help him too, because the other 2 goals, yes, nice goals, you score them, but like, that is an amazing goal. That might be the Oilers' goal of the playoffs so far.
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, the only other one, there isn't one.
No.
One.
Dylan Holloway, third of the playoffs. Draisaitl and Bouchard pick up the helpers on that one. This is also why, and I was on Morning Cup of Hockey this morning with Johnny Lazarus and Colby.
How was that?
Oh, we'll get to Johnny's take in a little bit. Don't worry. Jay, you're
Rangers homer, Johnny Lazarus.
Oh, you're not going to like his take. What I said was, this is why that goal is a great example of why earlier in the season I wanted them to just staple Holloway with Draisaitl for 10 games and be like, figure it out. See if they can develop chemistry, because we know Leon Draisaitl loves playing with speed off the rush. He plays well with Connor McDavid. I know you can say who doesn't play well with Connor McDavid, but putting an absolute burner with Leon Draisaitl, a guy who can fly and make plays through the neutral zone, just gives you a totally different look on that line. And
well, not even McDavid, right? Fogle and McLeod. He's done it with those 2 guys who aren't even as skilled as what Holloway can be. So yeah, having him there, and eventually the Oilers got to the right place with Holloway, but I agree with what you're saying. They should have given him a long run with McDavid or Draisaitl, whoever it may be, just in the top 6, but they eventually got to where they needed to be, and hopefully this is just
Holloway factor.
Yeah.
Kane too. He's played so well on that line.
Kane was good. The Canucks did not take long, though, to tie up the hockey game. Nils Hoglander from Elias Pettersson.
Why did that goal happen, you ask?
Oh, I can tell you why, Jay.
Why did that? Oh, shit. Didn't hit that guy with the puck that was right in front of you, Ryan McLeod?
It didn't even need to, like, lay
he just needed to get in his way. Just let him go through. He went full Johnny Gaudreau there.
Like, if he had just skated into him, he could have tied him up.
Oh, I was so mad.
It was so frustrating.
And when people don't make a big deal about it, and it's like, oh, McLeod, good defensively. First off, that's terrible defensively, too.
That's terrible.
People love to be like, oh, you can't just look at hits. You can't look at hits. That means he doesn't have the puck. But a big part of the game is making plays.
He didn't have the puck there, and you need to separate man from puck.
Even on the games where you are your absolute best and you dominate the other team.
Like, he tried to miss him.
I know.
He pulled up. He was going to hit, and he pulled up.
You're going to be without the puck for 35% of the games, even when you play at your absolute best. There is something to be said about the physical nature of things, and you can't dismiss it. And this play is exactly why you can't dismiss it. That's lazy. That's soft.
It can't be lazy because he put himself into the position.
No, because it takes a certain amount of effort to be like,
it's soft
power.
It's soft. It's not soft. Laziness. It's softness.
It didn't even have to be
you weren't going to get blown up. You were the aggressive. Like, literally, you just had to give him a nudge. And it was mind blowing to me.
And the funny thing is, and I guess the ironic thing too, it's been against Pettersson, who has been notably soft throughout this series and the playoffs as well. Like, it wasn't like it was Connor Garland or Miller or someone like that who might give you back a little bit. Like, it's Elias Pettersson. And, Nurse took a slack on this goal, but the error came way earlier in the play.
Can I spin this into a positive? All right. Not the McLeod stuff, but I'm going to take this conversation in a positive way because it's game 7 tonight. We need nothing but positive vibes.
Yes.
That was the last shot on goal the Canucks got for the first period.
Really?
That was the last time they beat Stuart Skinner. He goes 14 for 15 in his return to the Oilers crease. They beat him on that one. Not exactly his fault. Like, he maybe would have liked a big save there, but whatever. Yeah. 14 and 15. He made the one save with the blocker on Quinn Hughes.
When you see that clip, and I know, like, the angle, it makes it look like he couldn't see anything.
Yeah.
Which just makes it more impressive. You're like, that puck is going in.
And Skinner finds a way to see through it.
Somehow this arm comes out of nowhere.
You're like, oh my God. I wonder if he had to see, if he just threw it out because he knew a puck was shot, but impressive. Skinner was, we needed him. We were the Oilers in front of him.
Yeah.
I also just want to.
Oh, here we go. Look at this.
This shows that he couldn't see anything. And then, doink.
So late too.
Woo. Unbelievable.
Yeah, that was pure instincts.
Defended the top of the net, which sometimes he struggles with, and take that. Take that.
Just on Skinner, he stops 14 of 15. That was the exact kind of night they needed to have in front of Stuart Skinner.
Yeah.
And that is both a major compliment to Skinner, a major compliment to the Oilers,
Yeah.
and a damning statement about the Vancouver Canucks, who came out and you have a goalie who you know is fragile, who you know you can rattle, and you put 4 shots on him in the first period, 3 of which I think came from outside that home plate area, or 2 of which, sorry, because one eventually found the back of the net. But like, they did nothing to test Stuart Skinner in that hockey game. Their best look was a wrist shot from the blue line.
Yeah. And the only time that Skinner made me a little bit nervous was it was in the first period. It would have been on one of the power plays. He couldn't find his feet underneath him, and he fell back, and the puck wasn't even close. I'm like, oh no. But then he made a couple of not good saves, but he made saves, and I think that helped him settle in a little bit. But the others did a great job. The Canucks didn't have one high danger chance in the second period.
Well,
that's huge.
We needed this because obviously Skinner, coming from his previous performance, to come into this situation, the Oilers play extremely well and make his life a little bit easier, but just gives him the confidence he needs to now be Mr. Game 7.
All right. We're going to keep talking a little bit about Stuart Skinner in a bit. I'll maybe float a question to you guys and Jason Demers when he pops on the show. But the second period rolls around. The game is tied 1-1. I had a little bit of, I was torn on how I was feeling in that intermission, because the positive side of my brain was like, holy shit, the Oilers came to play. Shots were only 4-4, but I felt like they were the better team in that period. And it was like, okay, you survived the first. Skinner settled in. Good. The downside was, the longer this game goes, the more you're leaving it up to chance. But what I give the Oilers a lot of credit for is coming out in the second period, outshooting the Canucks 14-5, picking up those 2 goals. The Hyman one, I mean, a great pass by McDavid. We'll talk about Besser in a little bit, and I think he's, not excused, but you can understand why maybe he didn't have his best stuff in that hockey game, considering what we now know he was trying to deal with. But he loses Hyman in front, gives him a second whack at it, and Seelov's first weak goal Seelovs has given up in this entire series, I think.
Through him,
It went through him, right over him, whatever you want to say there. But Zach Hyman, massive 10th of the playoffs. And then, again, he got a lot of it, and it just floated in over top of him. And then it was Evan Bouchard. Aaron, do we have it with sound? Can we listen? Because it's the best sound going when you listen to this Bouchard one with the noise. Give it to me.
Outside of the goalpost, it stays in play. And steered to the line. Bouchard again. Scores! A boost blast of 88.1.
Credit to Sportsnet for the clip. That shot, ping, off the post. Again, that moment of the crowd as he winds up just going totally hush, and then you hear it. That was not quite the nail in the coffin, but that was the first moment of the night where I think I truly exhaled and went, I think they got it.
We're going to stomp them.
Yeah. A couple of massive goals by 2 guys, Bouchard, Hyman, 2 of the Oilers' most consistent. You can maybe say best players so far in these playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Game 5, they needed those guys to show up, and unfortunately didn't. And whilst the power play isn't executing at all right now, those guys are scored at 5-5 on Saturday, and they're going to need them again tonight.
Yeah, we're doing all this with a crappy power play
which is a statement I didn't think we would say.
No,
because the literal narrative at the start was the Oilers can't score at 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
Now they've scored 7 in the last 2 games.
Power play will be lethal tonight.
There's no choice.
The math is going to take over.
Talk about that in a little bit. Third period, again, 3-1. A part of it was, just, hey, play low event hockey if you're the Oilers, right? You don't want to take your foot off the gas like you did in Game 1, but just kind of keep lightly pushing the puck in the right direction. They instead decided to go full pedal to the floor. Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, another 5v5 goal for him in this series. Connor McDavid picks up his 3rd primary assist of the game for Evan Bouchard. It's his 3rd point of the hockey game as well. And this is just the perfect, and we talked about it. It was our key to victory, I think, 3 straight games. Go to the net. Crash the blue paint. You'll get looks. Good things happen. And that's exactly what this was. Nugent-Hopkins, I love the way he even fought through kind of that top layer. That's not something you really see Nuge do a ton, but he hops around a couple of, call them picks or whatever. He works through the traffic and then just puts his stick on the ice and gets rewarded for it. So he makes it 3-1. And then the real nail in the coffin, as the crowd sings Living on a Prayer, they snap it back to Evander Kane, and you would have had a great view on it from where you were sitting, Jay. He fires home. You want it with sound? Let's give it with sound.
Now face off. What scores? Evander Kane. Off the
That was electric.
Wasn't that the weirdest goal though? Like, why did I know the play happens very quickly, but when it went in, I actually thought the puck was dropped incorrectly. The way the Canucks literally did not react,
But they
just
didn't even have
didn't move.
time to.
but they
That was
like
so
nobody
fast.
moved. I just think like that was such a clean
They're
win.
probably
to him and, like,
it's probably
so
because they're used to Draisaitl getting kicked out of the
yeah,
dot,
maybe it
which
was
is
but,
like 70% of his face off.
the two defensemen like just stunned. They don't move an inch, and I was very confused when it happened. But just good goal by Kane, like
Yeah.
a sniper's goal, really.
That was the final 5-1 for the Oilers. They score 5 goals at 5v5
Is that
in
good?
that hockey game. It is from pretty much every angle, you guys. That's exactly what you wanted, right? I know, like, again, the power play, we'll talk about the power play in a little bit, but like 5v5 scoring, 5 different goal scorers, top line, second line, each get the job done for this team at different points. Like,
Yeah.
Skinner, solid.
Push.
Defensively, one of the best efforts we've seen from the
Yep,
Oilers.
They were skating. They're physical. A lot of scrums after the whistle. I even want to shout out Warren Fogle. Like, obviously, he hasn't been a factor scoring wise, but you at least saw his presence more in that game, which was great because all that stuff pays off in the long run.
I thought Carrick actually did well. in
Carrick
that
was
one
great.
time.
Carrick was great. That was a great call,
Mhm.
and I'm assuming because they were saying illness, right? So is Corey Perry
Yeah.
sick, or did he actually? Or
Well,
but
Carrick-
anyways, it was good to see
yeah.
Carrick in the lineup, and he took advantage of his second chance,
Yep.
and he put in a good effort.
Yeah. Carrick, again, that's exactly what you needed. 1 draws, played physical, good on the forecheck. All that was
Isn't that
really, really solid.
basically what Derek Ryan was when he took over for Carrick, right? Like,
Yeah.
not as physical, but like he literally speared someone in the series, which was not on my bingo card to start off the playoffs. But I thought Ryan played well too. You mentioned Fogle, like him going to the third line. Like that's the line that started the game, and they had a good run out there.
Yeah, that was interesting
That
too
was
from
interesting,
Knobloch to start the third line. But
And
again,
they started the second period too.
they did.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Against Miller?
Must have been.
Must have been, yeah. Line
Quick-
match.
Quickly, Liam, because I know you wanted to talk about it. Disallowed goal, Connor McDavid. I thought it was the right call. I was so confident it wasn't counting that I looked up, saw the replay once, and I went to go take a piss.
I thought it was the right call too. And I know people were saying McDavid wasn't allowed to get out of the blue paint, which is correct, but he put himself in the blue
Yeah,
paint.
that's you're
And
bang on.
that's as black and white as I think as a goalie interference call can be. If
Oh.
you go in the blue paint, then that's your own fault. The one actually the other day on Marchman on Dallas was BS, but no, just that's the thing. I think people are just so confused about what goal interference is, but I think this one
Seeloff's
was
really
kind
sold
of
it there. It looks like he
really
jumped
sold
into him
it.
too, but
credit to
that
him.
was just annoying because I had Oilers first period, and that was the missing leg of my parlay,
Oh,
my juicy parlay.
but good call. Do you think it was a good call though?
Yeah. I probably lean. I could see them calling that goaltender interference, but because I was having a conversation with someone who was like, "That's goaltender interference." I'm like, or sorry, that isn't goaltender interference, and I'm like, well, if that was happening to us, we'd be like, "That's goaltender interference." Like when you look at it that way. So I was trying to look at it from a non-biased perspective. So I wasn't offended by it.
What's the rule too?
parlay.
Like the goalie needs time to get set.
Yeah,
Like,
yes, I
really,
give
he
time to
didn't-
reset.
He didn't get any time to set at all.
No.
Going from the
No, no,
post
no.
to try and get back to the middle.
Yeah, so people are chanting, C-Lob, or people C-flop
I
from your
think it
pal
was a
Joe.
big flop.
C-Lobs went down like he was shot. Play it one more time, Aaron, because to me, there's 2 angles here that
The
kind
one
of.
angle looks like he just
Well, so the
jumped into
one,
Yeah.
this one, yeah, that looks like he jumps into it and gets shot. The angle on top is the one where it's like, oh no, Connor McDavid skates right into his path. So yeah, again,
there was a little shove there.
I think McDavid got pushed and bumped into him.
But the
But-
funny thing is, like, if McDavid didn't do that, that still goes in. You know,
You think?
what's it. I think so.
I think it's hard to tell.
I think it went. Where did it even go? Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say.
Seahawks might have gotten a piece of that. All right, let's keep cruising along. We got a short for giant question to get to a little bit later on in the show. We got some game notes for Douglas Mattress, but for now, let's head out to the Star Mechanical Guest Line, Edmonton's #1 plumbing and heating company. You can find out more about their residential, commercial, and 24/7 emergency services by visiting them online at starmechanical.ca. Let's get oily and bring in the former NHLer Jason Demers coming to us from Montreal. Jason, what are you doing out in Montreal?
Montreal Cocktail Fest. It's support my. So I am sober, so don't get that twisted. No, my brother just put on this event this year. He owns a bunch of bars and restaurants in Montreal area. He's been doing it now for a while, and he just founded this with another partner of his, trying to kind of bring cocktail awareness and mixology. So he's got a bunch of amazing people here. They're doing seminars all day. So I just kind of got back from I was being taught about cognac. So it's really interesting just to kind of meet this niche group of people that know so much shit that I know nothing about. So other than just give me a Jack and Coke and hold the Coca-Cola. So anyway, that's my story. So, but yeah, that's why I'm in Montreal.
All right. Well, speaking of shit we don't know anything about, none of us have ever played in a Game 7 in the NHL. What are your Game 7 memories from your career?
Oh, shit. I think I've been in
a few, right?
I've been in 2, or maybe 3. Have I been in 3? Oh, I've been in shit. I'm trying to think. 2. Well, one was the reverse sweep, which is the infamous in 2014 where we got reverse swept by LA, which was it still haunts me to this day. And then the other one where we played St. Louis when I was with Dallas, and to say that we kind of should have won that series, but unfortunately goaltending, I don't want to say because I love Kari Lehtinen, but we kind of went into Game 7 and it was like 3 lucky goals right away. It wasn't his fault, but it was just 3 lucky goals right away. We're down 3-0 in the first, and we were like, uh-oh. And that was, 6-7 years ago when you never saw this many comebacks in games. So like you pretty much knew you were dead in the water because teams would just trap it up. Now you could be up 6 goals and a team will tie it up. Just this playoffs just seems like it's the playoffs of the blown lead. So it's been absolutely incredible, but they're still amazing. It's very high stress. Depending on if you're on the road, we were on the road for one. I was at home for both. So, the energy is definitely different for the home team in a sense of there's a lot of fear a little bit and you could feel the nervousness from the crowd more. I feel like I would rather be on the road. Not saying that because I'm doing an Oilers podcast and trying to help out. But I honestly do think as a player, being on the road would be better because if you get an early one, the fans get real nervous. And you almost saw that in the Ranger game. Even the Rangers game, this playoffs, I know it was game 5 or 6. It was 5 when they lost, but like the fans were nervous because they were thinking a reverse sweep. So just think if you're a Vancouver Canucks fan, you got Demko not playing and you just got the awful news about Brock Besser. Like there's going to be some nerves there more than confidence. And I feel like the confidence is waning a bit. And obviously huge, I hope everything's okay with Brock Besser. That just kills me to see that because I wanted to see the full lineups go at it because you want to beat their best. And so, but hopefully he's okay and he's got a speedy recovery. But I think, obviously he's a huge piece. So I think Vancouver fans are probably a little bit more nervous than they were 2 games ago.
Sorry, Jason, you've been in 3 Game 7s.
It's the third.
The first one you played in was against Detroit in 2000. And you guys were up 3-0. Detroit tied it. Then you guys won Game 7 at home.
Yeah, we almost got reverse swept twice in 2 years in San Jose. Fucking, can you believe that shit? That's true. I remember that. We went up 3-0 against like Lindstrom, Datsuk was insane, and then Zetterberg. They just had such a lineup, and then it's like they were coming downhill after that. And Game 7 was a really good back and forth game. I think we won that 2-1, and then it was a Patty Marleau goal. I remember it. So, and then Datsuk in that game scored just the sickest backhand top shelf. But I digress. So I do remember it.
Do you think there's something to be said as well tonight? Like you mentioned, getting an early one if you're the Oilers to make the crowd nervous, but Vancouver's also in the spot where they had a chance to put away this series in Game 6. They didn't. The Oilers went pedal to the floor, played their best game. If you're the Oilers and you get one early tonight, like there's probably going to be some amount of doubt on that Vancouver bench as well, right?
100%. I mean, I'm sure the news of Brock really, it's either going to go one of two ways. It's either going to kind of bring them together and they're going to play extra hard, or it's going to maybe distract them a little bit early. So I think it's important that the Oilers just bring the same game they had last game. Don't take a step back. Don't think it's one. Don't rely. And for everything that everybody said, I feel like since you kind of had your rant, Tyler, last time I was on about the depth guys not pissing a drop, they've scored some big goals the last few games, and love the move by Knobloch putting in Carrick. I mean, I think you need that. I love Corey Perry, what he's done, but Carrick just brings a level of grit that you need on that bottom line. We talked about it. Just put a guy, if you're going to play him under 10 minutes, let him go run around. And he did exactly that. He disrupted Van, and they kind of haven't had a little spark plug like that this series. So it's great. And then obviously Dylan Holloway he's really coming in his own this playoffs, I feel like.
Yeah, Holloway's a machine.
Yeah. What impressed you the most about that Game 6 win?
It was top to bottom. Obviously, Connor was Connor, but two people that stood out for me was obviously, Stuart Skinner, for all the shit we've given him. He didn't have a huge workload, but there was a couple saves in that game, especially that Quinn Hughes one, that was incredible, game saving. It would have turned the tide, and it allowed Edmonton to kind of keep the pressure on. So he was huge. I mean, Dylan obviously goes without saying. Getting a goal from him is such a huge uplifting thing. And then, I mean, right now in the playoffs, if I'm looking, there's been some unbelievable D-man performances. If you go to Florida, you got Gustav Forsling, you got Heiskanen in Dallas, but Evan Bouchard he's been unbelievable. And it's just what he's done, and the little edge he played with last game, and he's really pissing some guys off. He's playing hard. He's getting under sticks more than he's ever had. That was the big knock on him, is in the playoffs he kind of wilted. He's not wilting at all. He's playing with a little arrogance, and I absolutely love when he plays cocky because it makes him that much better. And I mean, that shot's just his calling card staple, and it's just been absolutely a weapon in this series. So he's just been, and just knowing him, having sat next to him in the room, just a great kid and a great human. And it's great to see that he's kind of like, this is my decor, this is my team, let's go. And it's been great. And obviously, Connor, Leon, what more can you say about them? There's nothing more, but those two really stood out for me is Bush and Skinner as the two guys that huge games. So
yeah, for Skinner, I want to drill into that a little bit. I guess two-parter for you. What did you make of the decision to go back to him in Game 6? And I'll be honest, my confidence level in him going into that game was 3.5 out of 10. And after watching, how he played, just being good enough, which is all the Oilers need, stop the pucks you're supposed to, I'd say my confidence level in him is probably back up 6.5, 7.5 out of 10, somewhere in that range. So what did you make of the decision in Game 6? And maybe what do you think the confidence level should be in his ability to come through again in Game 7?
The one thing I've noticed in this playoff series is, and I have to say it, is Chris Knobloch has some elephant-sized balls on him, because the moves he's made have all worked out, and he's quietly done it. And he's, going to Picard was a great move, very ballsy. And then you could have argued that you go back to picks for Game 6, but he said, you know what? I think Skinner's going to put up a big game. Skinner is always good after a loss. Now, he just won a game, so I'm not sure what comes of this in Game 7. It's a toss-up, but I feel like he earned it in that game, especially getting 15 shots for him to be locked in all that game and make some. Because again, the Vancouver's thing, all this playoff series is they sit back, they take on water, you get lulled into a little bit of a sleep, and they're very talented when they get in the ozone, and they get a sustained shift in the ozone with Quinn Hughes and Roenick, and they just find ways to create offense out of nothing. And that's kind of been their calling card all playoff series, because they get just timely, opportunistic goals when you think you got them down and out. So they got a big belief in that room. And that's kind of why I sparked the whole Twitter debate when I was just like, you guys stink, but I didn't actually mean they stink, but they seem to just be comfortable getting shelled, and then all of a sudden they get an ozone chance and they're very dangerous. So I think it was just amazing to see him make those saves when he didn't really have much work. And those are that Quinn Hughes save through traffic with the blocker. I mean, he doesn't have much room for error, and that was a bomb of a shot, and he makes that save. So you got to, I think it was again, going back to Chris Novak, I think it was a great ballsy move by him. I think it's his net again. You have to. It's one of this weird Jekyll and Hyde tandem, but like we said, the start of playoffs, I think we talked about it. It's like this Oilers team's playoff hopes is firmly in goaltending. And if they get serviceable goaltending, they have a good chance to win the cup with that potent offense. And if they get anything less than that, I mean, it's really a toss-up, and that's the way it's been. So, and they got a good game out of Picks, which is a huge game, and I thought both games he played great. And then Skinner came in and looked like he had a great game. So hopefully he plays pissed off again tomorrow and not nervous. And I think being on the road might be better for him because he's not going to feel that pressure of, in the Oilers building and at home. He gets to go on the road, watch a nice movie, maybe get some Bleu Nuit, something like that, and then just get a good night's sleep and then go out and play, go right to the rink, hostile environment. But I think it's sometimes better for a goalie to be on the road. So
these two teams playing for the right to go up against the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Final. And holy shit, do the Dallas Stars ever look like a wagon. I can't poke a hole in them. I don't know a weakness. I can't find one.
I kind of was like, I think Edmonton had the best path in terms of easiness of schedule and to get to the finals, but I didn't think Dallas would handedly beat Colorado like that. And they're going to get some rest now and be healthy. And they're top to bottom depth. Defense is playing great. I think they put in Alex Petrovic, was a phenomenal move by their coaching staff. Just another guy to shore up, and he can play some minutes. He's a veteran guy. And Jake Ottinger's Jake Ottinger right now, and that's the scariest thing. He is, without a doubt, the best goalie in the playoffs right now. And it's scary because the two teams he faced, you could say Shesty, whatever you want, but Shesty had Washington. That was nothing. That was an easy series. And then Carolina, peppered him with shots, but a lot of outside stuff. He did his job, but he still got worked a little bit in a couple of the games. I mean, Jake Ottinger has been nothing short of spectacular, and he just seems to get better as the playoffs go. So I'm a little worried, especially if they get Rupe Hintz healthy. And I think I was reading the news. All signs point to he's going to be back game one. So is Tanev will be fine. They're going to be healthy, and Rupe was going to be probably like questionable game 7 for that series, but now they don't play till Thursday. So he's going to be back in, and it's a hard team to skate with and defend, and it's scary. That's the best team by far. And I thought they've had the hardest schedule too, and they have just disposed of two of the arguably other best teams.
Yeah,
not handedly, they had to come back against Vegas, but after those two games, those first two games, I thought they carried the play for most of that series. And then Colorado they neutralized McKinnon as much as you could.
Yeah. Good.
I'm good.
So let's wrap up with this, Jason. Game 7. I think we know Connor McDavid, he does these things in big moments. He had his big moment 2 years ago against the Kings. He had his big moment against the Calgary Flames in the BOA that year as well. He has stepped up when they need him most, but give me your prediction for how things shake down tonight, and give me someone maybe outside of 97 that you think could be the hero.
Matthias Janmark, potentially.
Has a Game 7 Hattie under his belt.
He does. I'd love to see a Darnell Nurse goal, but these are one of the games that, Connor's done big things in big moments. This is another legacy type game for a leader, him and Leon. This is a game where these guys need to be your best. You just saw if you're looking at basketball, this is the Ant-Man, Karl Anthony Towns kind of game where they need to win this series. They should win. They've been the better team majority of the series. They can't lose this because this will be a blemish. So they're going to have to really make sure that they're everything's dialed in and guys are playing good. But I would love to see a Darnell Nurse goal and just, shove it up everybody's ass and have a good game. So I'd go with Nursey to put one in here.
All right. Love it, Jason. Enjoy the game tonight. And hopefully when we talk to you next, it's all about the Oilers and Stars.
Let's ride, boys. Let's ride. Oil up!
Oil up indeed. Jason Demers on the Star Mechanical guest line. Nice and fired up. Oil up, boys. Let's move along because I want to get to the short board giant question before we get to our pal Frank Seravalli. Your question.
Real quick. I want to answer this.
Okay, real quick. Sherwood Ford, their fantastic service department, whether it's the mobile service van, their valet service, or their many, many bays that can get your wit back on the road. Sherwood Ford, your giant question, boys. Give me your Game 7 hero tonight. Who do you want to see come through outside of the usual suspects?
Oh, well, mine was going to be McDavid, but I'll say Stuart Skinner is my Game 7 hero.
Game 7 hero, Stuart Skinner, Jay?
I'll ride with Demers and say, Attaby, Daryl.
I could see it. I like that one. Bring Cassian home. Kane Hattie, he's due. Ryan S. Oilers 4-2 win. Connor Brown goal. But I am going with Waz. No better time for Warren Fogle to get going. I think Warren Fogle finds a way to slip home.
Waz, what about DR, buddy? DR 10.
Yeah, actually, Waz.
Doctor's in the house.
Final buzzer. Fogle. Game 7. Hero, sadistic angel. Draisaitl lighting it up 2 times tonight. Jay, what's your? Actually, we'll talk more on real life.
Yeah, we'll talk more on real life. What's my score prediction?
Yeah, how do you think things shake down tonight?
I still think Vancouver's not going to go down without a fight. I just hope we win in regulation. So I'm going to go 4-3 Oilers.
All right, 4-3.
All right, peace out.
Oilers.
Go Oil.
There you go. Yep. The Sherwood Ford Giant question brought to you by our friends at Sherwood Ford the Giant. Check out their extensive inventory of new and used vehicles at sherwoodford.ca. Liam, again, it is obvious. Connor McDavid is going to have to be a guy for them tonight in this hockey game.
Yeah, I think he needs to be, and he was last game. It was interesting. They obviously kept him away from JT Miller as much as they could in in game 6. But without Brock Besser on that wing too, you're now up against Miller, Blank, and Piasuda. Connor McDavid, Nugent-Hopkins, and Hyman haven't been on a goal against so far at 5-5 this series when the 3 of them have been on the ice.
Mm-hmm.
So they need to keep on piling on the goals. And, we're talking about could Fogle show up? Could Yaremchuk show up? The Oilers just need their stars to show up, and they should win this game.
Mm-hmm. On that note, we do know what the lineups are going to be tonight, so let's stick on that for our friends at Sherwood Ford. The Giant Oilers head coach Chris Knobloch saying no changes in this one. Adam Henrique still not available, and Corey Perry will stay out of the lineup. So it means you're going Nuge, McDavid, Hyman, Kane, Draisaitl, Holloway, McLeod, Fogle, and DR10, and then Sam Carrick with Matthias Janmark and Connor Brown is your 4th line. I like that 4th line. I didn't hate that 3rd line.
Thought it was fine.
It was fine, and you need them to be a bit better than fine tonight, but that's all good. And then the D pairings, Ekholm, Bouch, Nurse with Vin, Kulak with CC. One of my favorite parts of last game we haven't talked about yet is Skinner doing his little celebration with Vinny by himself on the ice. Yeah, and then with Vinny in the room after Vinny was booted for that 10-minute misconduct and the whole melee behind the net.
Yes.
But that's the Oilers lineup for tonight. Shout out to our boy Tony Brar for the Vancouvre Canucks. Seelovs is going to start.
Mm-hmm.
We know that. The D pairings are staying the same, but the changes come up front. Lafferty and Mikheyev will draw in for Brock Besser and Vasily Podkolzin. Obviously, if you missed it, the news with Besser, he unfortunately has a blood clotting issue in his leg. So he's on a blood thinning program. You can't play hockey when you're on that. He's going to miss the next 3 months for the Vancouver Canucks. So he is done for the entire postseason. A massive, massive blow for the Vancouver Canucks. From an on-ice perspective, this is just about as bad of a break as you can get. If you're Vancouver, this issue popping up when it did. Obviously, again, wishing Besser all the best as he moves through this. But again, there's also no way around it. This is huge. He was, with JT Miller, really the only 2 forwards who, through 5 games, we'll say, consistently brought it. Everyone else in that Canucks lineup has kind of come and gone at different points, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But Brock Besser is a certified Oilers killer, and they don't have him tonight.
Yeah, I think offensively he's been their best player, right? 7 goals in the playoffs so far. I think he has 10 against the Oilers this season. he's an elite player, and obviously, yeah, like you said, like you don't just replace those guys in your
No.
lineup, and the Oilers need to take advantage of it big time tonight. 20 minutes a night for him, and on the power play too, he was so present. He is going to be a big guy out of them, of course, and not, like you said, like hopefully things go well for Brock Besser. It's been a real tough last few years for him, and fantastic player. And as it from a neutral perspective, which is very little of me in the series, I have enjoyed watching him play.
Yeah. Slick Stick Skinner. My fear is Dakota Joshua. I hope he stays in the penalty box.
I have. Who's the third line for them tonight? Is it the same?
Yes.
Okay, so here's a little bit of information for you guys. Elias Lindholm, when he was with Dakota Joshua and what's the other guy? Connor Garland, they had 4 goals for at 5-on-5 and 0 against this series. Since they bumped Lindholm up the lineup,
You mean Pedersen?
No.
Oh, Lindholm. Yeah, you're right. Lindholm. Sorry,
away from them and put Teddy Bluger. They've been outscored 3-0. So Dakota Joshua, yes, has been overall had a good series, but the last few games he's not been what he was, and he has been a bit invisible.
Yeah, he has not been as effective as he was early on in the lineup. And we kind of talked about that too. It was like, okay, they're trying to do so much to get Elias Pettersson going that did they maybe mess up one of the areas that was working? And you went from having one line that was good and then the Pettersson line, which was bad, to now just 2 lines that are neutral. You've eliminated one of the good lines. I think it was a major mistake by Rick Tocchet, as much as he's pushed a lot of the correct buttons so far on for this team during this season.
And I guess to Pedersen's credit, he has shown up for them offensively since getting bumped up. He obviously got the assist on the JT Miller goal, whether it his skate, and I know it was kind of a coincidental pass, but he was the one who got the Niels Hoglander assist the other day too. So he has done well, but like you said, like, to what damage is it? Is it worth it that much? Like, if I was them tonight, like, maybe worth putting him on the top line with JT Miller. Reuniting that Lindholm and Garland and Joshua line. There's also something else I want to bring up, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So Chris Rooney is the referee tonight. Do you know much about
11?
Him?
The Canucks are 11-0-1 when he's the ref.
So there's obviously refereed one game this series so far, and it was game 3 of the Oilers and Canucks. The Oilers lost that game 4-3.
Yeah.
But just look beyond the final score a little.
Do your own research, some would say.
The Oilers had 42 shots that game.
Yep.
They had 2 power plays in the third period. Yes, the calls on the Oilers that game was soft. It was the Ekholm one where his cross-check, whoever it was, Bresser, stick broke. The Nurse one, which is kind of weak, but like you go through and look, like I thought that game was fairly even. The refs didn't have, they had an impact negatively, but I don't think it helped either team too much. It's just like, it is what it is. Like, I think the Oilers still, like, with Chris Rooney or not as a ref, which, quite frankly, again, I hate knowing what the refs are even called. The Canucks are without Demko and Besser, and it shouldn't matter what the refs are.
You ready for my theme of the day?
Go ahead.
Canucks are 11-0-1 in the last 12 games Rooney's refed.
Yeah.
Sounds like they're due for a loss.
Can't argue with that.
Home teams are 2-0 in game 7 so far in these playoffs, Liam. You know what that sounds like?
Sounds like it's due for a loss.
Sounds like they're due for a loss. That's
Gambler's
all
fallacy.
we're about tonight. Gambler's fallacy. All right, let's stick to the Star Mechanical guest line, actually, and bring in our Daily Faceoff insider, Frank Seravalli. He hosts the DFO Rundown. Yeah, Star Mechanical, starmechanical.ca, all the good stuff. You already heard me say it once. Frank Seravalli joins the show. He was in attendance for game 6 in Edmonton. He also beat me he didn't beat me. He won the match we played in our round of golf on Saturday. It was a nail biter though, Frank.
It was good. Tyler's dad came to play and it was nice day.
Where'd you play?
Victoria, just down in the River Valley.
Oh, very nice.
And then the Oilers came to play that night. Frank, what impressed you the most about the Oilers game 6 victory?
Pure and total dominance from the second period puck drop on. They flattened the Vancouver Canucks like a pancake, and they were in the driver's seat for the first time. That was their clear best game of the series. The scoreboard indicated how lopsided it was, and for a series that's been all 1-goal games, you're thinking that might be the recipe to help break it open. And then if you're the Oilers, you get kind of some more good news that Brock Besser, the leading goal scorer in the playoffs and certified Oiler killer, 9 goals in 10 games against the team this season, is out. So there's all sorts of reasons to feel confident. Tyler, you and I debated earlier today on Daily Faceoff Live which team is actually feeling the pressure the most, which one should be. And I think it's a more fascinating article or argument than some people might imagine.
Well, what do you think?
I think it's dead split down the middle. I mean, you could look at it from the Oilers' perspective and say, this was a cup or bust season, as Leon Draisaitl said. You're now facing Game 7 against a team that's beaten you 7 times so far this year, and you need to come through to not make it to at least the conference final in a year in which you had, compared to the Rangers, compared to the Dallas Stars, probably even the Florida Panthers, you had the most preferable route to the conference final, to the Final Four, and you might not be able to get it done. It'd be an absolute indictment from where these two teams started at the start of this year. But if you look at it from the other perspective, which is the Canucks view, you could say, well, they had a lead of 1-0, 2-1, and 3-2 in the series. They were staring down a kill shot of the Oilers in Game 6 and came up with their worst game so far. And they're a team that, regardless of whether you think they're better or worse, finished 5 points ahead of the Oilers in the standings and crushed them in the season series. Should be up to them to get the job done on home ice in a city that quite literally burns itself down. Where do you come out on that?
So here's my thing. Let's say, again, whatever side loses tonight, a week from now, Canucks fans, I think, can sit there and go, wow, Rick Tocchet comes in, changes the culture, we win the division, and despite the fact Pettersson no-showed and Besser was hurt for Game 7, and we didn't have Demko, we made it to Game 7 of round 2. We're right there. I think there's enough positives to pull. If the Oilers lose tonight, a week from now, talk to an Oilers fan, they're not going to be like, well, what a fun season. Yeah. They'll be like, holy shit, we're further away than when we started the year. How is this possible? I just think the heartbreak from an Oilers perspective, the heartbreak potential is massively higher than the heartbreak potential from Vancouver. And the long-term outlook of the Canucks will still be positive at puck drop next season. For the Oilers, if you don't tonight,
like, so you have gotten then through a season of playoffs in which your $11.6 million player didn't show up at all. You will have had a completely average playoff run from Quinn Hughes, and your goalie, who has never strung together a healthy full season, played 1 playoff game, 60 minutes, 59 minutes and change. You don't think those are legitimate questions to ask? I'm not trying to spin it in a different direction. And I do think that the stakes are much higher for the Oilers. But what I'm saying is there's still a lot on this from the Canucks perspective based on all of the questions that then need to be answered on the back end of it.
Yeah, I like this comment from Maynard, who said Vancouver has numerous built-in excuses. And I think that's just it for me. Like, if you're Vancouver, you can sit there and go, but. If you're Edmonton, it's what? What's the excuse for not beating the hell out of this Canucks team tonight? Like, there isn't one. This is your cup year. It's cup or bust, like Leon said. And to me, you had this easy path, and you have a series now where you didn't play a truly good to great hockey game until Game 6. And you sit there if you're the Oilers and you go, if we didn't get it done when this was our path, you're never getting it done.
Yeah. I've been around way too long to say that that's a fallacy. Like, that is always the thought process and the negative that flows through you because you think this was our best team, our best shot. I also was there when the Washington Capitals were winning President's trophies and losing to the Montreal Canadiens in round 1 as the 8 seed. I saw some incredible St. Louis Blues teams that did nothing in the playoffs until they won a Game 7 on the road in the Stanley Cup final to get their first franchise Stanley Cup. I saw the Pittsburgh Penguins, after going to back-to-back Stanley Cup finals in 2008 and 2009 and winning 1, walk through a period of 7 years of absolute misery and disaster. And then when they didn't have their best team, they win back-to-back years. I mean, I'm not kidding. Sometimes there's no rhyme or reason for this, and why the Oilers haven't gotten very many depth contributions, I can't answer that. Why some years you can't score an even strength goal and only can score on the power play, I don't know. Even within this series, these two things have flip-flopped. The Oilers couldn't score at even strength to save their life to start this series, only scoring on the power play, and now all of a sudden they can't score on the power play. So it's like golf. When you figure out one part of your game, since you brought it up earlier, you put the lights out, you can't get off the tee for anything. You get off the tee, you can't hit a wedge shot to save your life. It's just that's how life works. That's how everything works. So if you want to speak in definitives, be my guest. It makes for great shows. But it's game 7. I can't speak in any definitives.
Because, and that's the kind of beauty of this. And we just had Jason Demers on, and the last time Demers played in a game 7, it was Stars Blues, the year the Blues won the Stanley Cup. They were down 3-2 in that series. They get a 4-1 win to force a game 7, and then they win in double overtime of game 7 that year to keep their playoff run alive. Like, there are these kind of defining moments in a run, and sometimes even when hope feels minimal, like it kind of was when the Oilers lost game 5, you find these teams just find a way to gut it out. So I am generally optimistic about
Let
the
me
Oilers.
remind you of another one. This because I just thought of this. And it kind of feels a little bit like that. Well, I get 2 memories. One is I think the Oilers right now are the Anaheim Ducks of 2017.
I thought the exact same thing. Because the Oilers of Vancouver, right? Where it's like this young team who's coming through and basically have nothing to lose. And Anaheim has all these guys and they're expected to win.
And what happened in that game 7? The Oilers got worked.
2-0, I think the final was.
So then the other thing I think of is 2017 Eastern Conference Final, upstart Ottawa Senators team going against the defending Cup champ Pittsburgh Penguins. Game 7, the Sens have no business going on this miracle run, and they take the Penguins to double OT. They're one shot away from knocking off the defending champs and going to the Cup final, and the Penguins' best players find a way. I tend to think that in these moments when you need it more than ever, that's when the best players show up. That's when you get a goal from Patrick Kane in the clutch. That's when you get a goal from whoever it might be. There's a reason why these guys earn that money. And when you needed it in game 6 with your season on the line, you get a 3-point second period from Connor McDavid.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
So just to flip it onto the Vancouver side of things, Frank, obviously Elias Pettersson was basically invisible for the majority of the series. There's 2 assists in back-to-back games. But with that, they've moved Lindholm away from Joshua and Garland, who was their best line in the series, and now they've basically been invisible too. Do you think the Pettersson move at the lineup the Lindholm move to play with Pettersson has benefited the Canucks more or less?
I think it's ultimately going to benefit them less, but it's really odd because, like, think about what Rick Tocchet did with his lineup for game 5. Okay. Last time we were here in Vancouver, because he wants to try and get Pettersson going, he takes his lines and he stacks up the top 2, and he spread them out initially because he wanted to get more to try and compete with the Oilers having McDavid and Draisaitl on separate lines, right? They're thinking, if we got to go head to head with them, we want to at least spread around the wealth so that we have more depth. Then he chunks together two really good lines, or theoretically on paper. And here's what happened in game 5. Their 4th line had the best game. Like, help it make sense, right? That's what happened. So I think they got away with it in 5. They got crushed in 6. And I think on the whole, on the balance, it's probably better if they go back to what worked. But I'll be real curious to see what kind of leash he has on everything tonight. You can't You can't afford to sit back through a whole game and say, yeah, you know what? We're just going to see this through and see what happens.
Okay, a couple more for you here. I have like a game 7 kind of checklist in my mind, and it's partially things I think will happen, partially things I think need to happen for the Oilers. 1, power play gets 1 or 2. I think they've missed on 10 in a row. They've seen the adjustments the Canucks are making. Now they've had 2 games try work around the adjustments, and to their credit, I think they were much better in game 6 than they were in game 5. So I think the power play bounces back. I think Stuart Skinner is solid. Not great, but not bad. He's exactly what they need. And they get a depth goal from somebody. I think the depth, again, bottom 6 has been so quiet. Someone pops one. My money will be on Warren Fogle tonight to do that. Frank, what are some things you're looking for tonight from an Oilers perspective that'll fuel them to victory? Keys to victory, if you might.
Oh, I think the first one you hit on it. If they go 0-4 on the power play again, I'll be very surprised if they win this game. 2 is in the same vein. They have to play with some discipline. I think they've done a pretty good job of that this season, or this series, I should say. There haven't been too many moments where it feels like they lost themselves. And 3 is they've done such a good job of defending in front of both of their goalies this series. The fact that they limited the Canucks to 9 shots through 2 periods, don't let them get to Stuart Skinner. We still don't really know, has Skinner found himself yet, because the Canucks never asked. So if that is the case, how does Skinner react in a building that's been nightmarish all season long for him from start to finish?
Yeah. Last one I have for you then. We know Chris Knobloch, he played the shit out of Connor McDavid, and that is about the least bright way you can phrase that. But he played the shit out of Connor McDavid early, was able to dial back his minutes for a bit. But McDavid's high in this series is 29-42. Over or under that tonight?
I can't answer that because I don't know how the game's going to go. I think it's purely based on moment, opportunity. Are you pressing? Are you up? Whatever if they're up, like I think you're going to see a little bit less of McDavid, not because they don't want to push the pace, but because like if we're all being honest too, like there have been a few defensive lapses from McDavid in this series that have not helped the Oilers. So my guess would be, just as I framed it the way heading into the season, this is a burn the boats type year. If Connor McDavid's left leg is hanging off at the end of this, you're playing him until the wheels fall off. So you're going to be living and dying by your best players. And I just can't help but think, I wrote this story today on dailyfaceoff.com, just how amazing this season series has been. This series has lived up to the hype in every sense of the word. 5 1-goal games out of the 6, plenty of drama, crazy lineup choices and decisions. But the Canucks were able to, starting with game 1 of the season, opening night, 8-1 win. They thrashed the Oilers 3 times in 27 days, outscoring them 18-6, culminating with November 6th. Jay Woodcroft thrown out. The next day, Jack Campbell hits waivers. From October all the way through, the Vancouvers Canucks have been pulling at the thread and can completely unravel the Edmonton Oilers season tonight. However, if you're the Oilers, you're thinking, this is it. This is our opportunity to vanquish this team and this season series once and for all. What's it going to be?
What is it going to be? Frank will be in attendance for game 7 tonight between the Oilers and Canucks. Thanks for hopping on quickly, Frank.
See ya, Frank.
See you guys.
Bye, Frank. There goes Frank Seravalli. Hopefully he's not made his final trip to Edmonton so far in these playoffs.
He'll be back next weekend. Or the weekend, Monday, Wednesday, probably.
I don't know. I can't think that far ahead. My brain's barely working today as is. Let's get out to a playoff report. It's brought to you by our friends at Boston Pizza, Liam. Boston Pizza wants to know what it would take for you to cheer on another Canadian team. Jets, Flames, Leafs, Habs, Sens fans. What are you thinking? Team up for the win with Boston Pizza. I think I might need to go to BP's.
I had BP's yesterday.
What'd you get?
Pepperoni pizza.
And today you dressed up like a BP's mint.
Well, this is just what happened after I had my BP's. I transformed. And I also had some cactus cooked fries.
It's just cactus cuts.
No.
Oh,
They were
different?
like The fry version.
What?
I don't know. The lady ordered them. They came, and I was like, "Oh, what are these?" And she's like, "They're cactus cut fries." I was like, so they're just cactus cuts in the shape of a fry.
But now I'm
Me
confused.
too. They were
Let's
good.
go out to Boston for our next guest and bring in our pal DJ Bean
Oh.
from What Chaos. DJ, a true oil man. I keep going from like 1 second, I'm like, they're gonna win 6-1 tonight. The next one, I'm like, fuck, it's game 7. Anything can happen. And then I'm excited and I can't wait for puck drop. Then I want to throw up and I'm nervous and I don't even want to watch the game tonight. But I guess that's game 7's.
No, they're good. They're gonna win. They're fine. I'm confident. I've never been worried for a second this entire series. I'm not going to start now. I understand there's the back and forth, but I think that you need to think about home is where the heart is, and for your heart, for everyone's heart, the heart is chasing a mobile DJ on a bicycle, dancing along outside the arena, as we saw after the game. I've never seen anything like that before. I've never been out there before. I'm an oil man from afar. Is that usually happening?
I've never seen that before, but the moss pit on Saturday night was an experience from what I was seeing. You had the Stanley Cup lady sat there on the front row, the gentleman who's wearing the VR, and then you had the guy who's also shirtless there. And then also, yeah, to end it, everyone doing a little dance line, the DJ's just going around on a bike. It was amazing.
It looked like an absolute party. And Tyler, I loved your video from inside the arena after the game. It looked like such a party. And I'll tell you what, we had Tony Brouwer on today. And then after that, we had Wyatt Arndt from Canucks Army. The vibes, I know that they're just two different people, but the vibes from the Oilers perspective versus the Canucks perspective, the Canucks perspective, Wyatt had more of like my vibe towards life, which is like, fine. Whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Fuck this. Oilers fans aren't feeling that way. I don't think they should be, at least. I think that given what, unfortunately, the Canucks are facing from a lineup perspective, the Brock Besser thing, I'm sure you guys have talked about, fucking sucks. It's like that's not the way that you want to win against the team. And if you're the Canucks, that's not the way that you want to lose. But given where both rosters are, even if, as Kevin Weeks was speculating during the game the other night, Connor McDavid is less than 100%. The Oilers, I think, are better to so much better than the Canucks. I'm confident, but I've been confident the whole way. I didn't think the series was going 7, so maybe I'm a little too optimistic.
I don't think you are. And the way they won in game 6 is a big part of that for me. And again, in our conversation with Jason Demers earlier on, he talked about how fragile a home crowd can be in a game 7 and how from his days, he would have always rather been on the road for his game 7s because one bad thing happens and you start to sense the nervous energy in the crowd. I also think with the way the Oilers won game 6, DJ, if you can get on this Canucks team early tonight, you start that doubt and it's okay. We don't have Demko. Okay. We don't have our best goal scorer. Okay. They beat us 5-1 with 5 on 5 goals in game 6. Like there are a lot of reasons to think, knock on wood, if the Oilers get off to a good start, they can crumble this Canucks team early.
Yeah, I'm going to give a hockey thought that's actually never been said in the sport before, but I think that coming out fast could be an advantage for the Oilers. And here's why. I know you're thinking, whoa. You don't want to do that. You want to pace yourselves. No, I think that the Oilers should want a strong start because if they can get an early power play, given what, as you said, they were able to do it 5-on-5 last game, if they get an early power play and look, not scoring on a 5-on-3 blew my mind just the same way it blew all of your minds. But if they can get an early power play goal, then you are so right. I was there in 2019 when the Blues beat the Bruins. Once that first one goes in against you, the energy for sure does change in the building. And I think, as I said, Canucks fans are a little more like, we really don't want to lose, but God, we're just hopeful that we can win. Whereas Oilers fans, I think rightfully understand that they're favored for good reason. They have two of the best players in the world. I mean, if you were to draft this series right now, obviously the Oilers get the first two guys that you would take. And then Quinn Hughes, who hasn't been great in this series, would probably go after that. And then it's just the Oilers at the top of their roster are just so much better, that if their best players show up as they started to in game 6, then this should be a very winnable game for them.
You know, you mentioned you had Wyatt on your show. What has been the message from Canucks and Canucks reporters? I guess you had Thomas Drance too. Like throughout this series, has it been like the Canucks are going to win this, or just kind of like let's see what happens, like you said?
No, Pete denied this today, but Pete is getting increasingly annoyed with me on our show about how confident I am in the Oilers, and he said today, he was like, we don't want to alienate Canucks fans. And I was like, honestly, I don't. If me saying I think the Oilers are going to win alienates Canucks fans, then Canucks fans are acting differently than I've seen them act, because I think that they understand they are not the better roster. They understand that they did not enter the season as Stanley Cup favorites. They've had an awesome season, have the Canucks. And I know that sounds condescending for me to say as an Oilers fan, to kind of pat them on the head and say like, hey, great job for coming this far. But really, great job for coming this far. I think that's the way that they view it. I think that if there's anything that's been kind of repeated throughout the series in a positive light from Canucks fans, it's been, wow, they've been able to limit Connor McDavid in a way that not a lot of teams have. Kevin Weeks said in game 6, when McDavid didn't shoot the puck on the power play, maybe he's got some sort of injury thing, missed time late in the season. I crunched some numbers on his shot attempts per game in the postseason. They are way down this year, but still, even if he is limited in some way, shape, or form, he still produced like a madman in game 2. So if he can show up and be what he's been at points in this postseason, I don't think any Canucks fan realistically would think our guys at our best are better than their guys at their best.
Game 7s are random. It can come down to a post, a missed net, a bounce. It's one of those things. All right, I wanted to ask you about Stuart Skinner. He comes through, plays, or does exactly what you needed him to do in game number 6. I said the way the Oilers played and the lack of high quality chances Skinner had to face is as much a compliment to the Oilers as it is like a damning thing about this Canucks team, that they weren't able to get a little bit more going, knowing how fragile Stuart Skinner likely was. I said my confidence level in Stu going into game 6 was like 2.5 to 3.5. My confidence level now is somewhere between 6.5 and 7.5. What's your confidence level in Skinner specifically going into this game 7?
It's a 6.0 even, which isn't amazing. I only placed one Conn Smythe wager at the beginning of the postseason. It was on Stuart Skinner. I don't believe the cash out option is currently available for that. I understand he has not been great this postseason. I didn't think he was fine in the opening series against the Kings. I thought he was not great in game 2, but other than that, I thought that he was solid throughout the series. Games 1 and 3, obviously not good for him. Game 3, he legitimately lost them in the game, which doesn't happen as much in hockey as you would think, where a goalie actually single-handedly can sink a team, but he did. In game 6, I thought that he was similar to what Calvin Pickard was in game 4, which is come in, hopefully the chances you face aren't severe because the team in front of you understands what is going on behind them. I did not love him the first 15-ish minutes of the game. I think that he got a little settled in and got into it. Eventually ended up stopping 14 to 15 shots. You can't ask for much more than that. The Canucks' path to winning, though, involves him being something like what he was in game 3, where merely putting pucks on net is a path to winning, which normally in the playoffs isn't. There's got to be some mix of quantity and quality, but good on the Oilers. I mean, their penalty kill has been fantastic this postseason. When they've played in front of shaky goaltending, with the exception of that game 3, they've been able to tighten up in front of them, which is very good. And Pete or somebody, I can't remember who said it, late last week said, at some point, if the Oilers are going to make a deep run, it has to involve Stuart Skinner. You have to have your best players out there. The Dallas Stars, I think, are a better team than the Oilers. I'm going to root for the Oilers. I'm probably going to say at points that I'm very confident and think the Oilers are going to win. I might be nervous. I might be lying. Who knows? But if you are to beat the Stars, which is possible, Stuart Skinner has to be in net, and Stuart Skinner has to be regular season Stuart Skinner, or mid-November on Stuart Skinner, which is a goalie that's somewhere in the 915 range.
All right. I want to wrap this up with our Keys to Victory segment. If you got another minute, DJ. Keys to Victory brought to you by Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. They got service for all makes and models of power sports and marine. Bring them anything. Need an inspection, a test run, trailer, TLC, or just a fresh oil change. They got you covered. Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. DJ, you can be as cliche as you want. You can be as in-depth and thoughtful as you want. Your key to victory tonight for the Oily boys.
I'm not going to be cliche at all. I'm not going to name some star players or whatever. I'm going to get in deep and say Connor McDavid is a key to victory, because Connor McDavid has been limited and shut down at points in the series. And whenever I've thought for a second, hey, I see you Canucks, it's been whatever the hell Rick Tocchet and JT Miller are doing with absolutely neutralizing him. And yes, there's, like I said, the Kevin Weeks thing of, hey, maybe he's a little hurt or something. Maybe he's afraid to shoot. You can't tell with Connor McDavid when he's not shooting if it's a health thing or if it's just a stubborn thing with him, because he likes to set up his guys. But for, I don't know, 3 games of this series, he's really been borderline taken out of the game. And borderline taken out of the game means he only has like 1 assist, or he doesn't create that many chances. He's still going to be incredible because he's Connor McDavid, but he hasn't been Connor McDavid at points throughout this series. If he is able to have the type of performance that he had in, say, game 2, obviously, if he goes out and has 3-4 points, then sure, it's over. But if he even has half of that, I'm very, very, very confident in the Oilers.
As you are. You're an oil man after all. Deej, always appreciate your time, man. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate you, boys. Go Oilers.
Go Oilers.
Right,
See you later.
Giddy up. DJ Bean for Boston Pizza and Sherwood Power Sports and Marine. What's your key to victory tonight, Liam? I'm going to throw up.
That's your key to victory?
My key to victory is not throwing up.
You're really riding a roller coaster.
I am. I'm going through it today.
I'm cool, calm, and collective. My key to victory is that second line of Draisaitl, Kane, and Holloway. I think they've been really, really good for the Oilers. So, I'm changing it completely. It's the star players. If the star players show up tonight for the Oilers
they can single-handedly win them this game.
It's literally like, we talk about depth and how great that is, but let's not all sit here and pretend the Oilers need goals from Yaremchuk, Fogel, and McLeod tonight to win this hockey game. They need Draisaitl, McDavid, and Bouchard and Hyman and Nugent-Hopkins to have good games, and they'll be completely fine. That is the Oilers' recipe to win basically any game they ever want to win.
Key to victory, Stuart Skinner. Key to winning comfortably, Skinner, and then link, star players. Key to blowing them out, Skinner, star players, depth players. 3 phases.
The perfect game, they call it.
The perfect game. That's what it is.
What was it? Game 2, the Stars basically played the entire game and the Oilers won. And they had bad goaltending. I don't see it going to overtime tonight. I think this will be a tight game.
Yeah.
But also, too, like, I love the idea of, like, you get a couple early and then it's gone. And I was looking, you said something in there that got me intrigued a little bit. And I'm doing my own research. You said, I believe the quote was, Game 7 is a game of chance. Why do you believe Game 7 is a game of chance? I'm not
because it is one game.
Yeah.
Like, if Connor McDavid hits 2 goalposts in this hockey game, that's luck. That's chance. That's, oh my God, you're an inch away. If Leon Draisaitl from his office misses an open net, if a puck, like against the Kings, puck goes off the stanchion, spits into the middle, wide open net. Think about Game 6 against the Kings last year. Stuart Skinner's stick snaps on him, and Danoa's a tap in. Like, you've now gotten to a point where it's one game winner take all. And hockey is a random ass sport, probably more random than any other of the big 4 sports.
Oh, totally.
You've now left it up to chance to some extent. You can make your own breaks. At the end of the day, if you only give the Canucks 11 shots on net today, who gives a shit if one goes off the stanchion and you're going to win? But if this is going to be a tight hockey game, it'll come down to a bounce.
I think it's interesting looking through the last however many Game 7s. Obviously, there's been 1,000,001 of them all time in the NHL. Looking back through the last, since 2023, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of them. I think there's been 2 where, actually, I'll say 1 where the wrong team won. And I would say that was when the Kraken beat Colorado 2-1 in Ball Arena. So the ones that I've been through, and correct me if I'm wrong. So Florida beat Boston when they were the 8 seed 4-3. But I think if you remember that series, like Boston never really looked like them true selves from what they were that season. Seattle, Colorado. Seattle won 2-1. The Devils beat the Rangers 4-0 at home. Dallas beat Seattle 2-1 at home. And then obviously the two this year, Boston beating Toronto and Dallas beating Vegas.
All right.
Ty, I got one thing to add on.
Oh, yeah.
You said your 3 keys: Skinner, star players, depth scoring. You're describing game 6.
Yeah.
If they just do that over again, that's the recipe. That's the strategy. Much easier said than done, but Skinner, be reasonable. Stars, do your thing and get a depth goal or two.
Yep.
You should win handedly.
We got one in here from K. Waddy who said, we won that game. Stu still broke. I disagree with that, but he says we can overcome a bit of bad luck. That's where experience comes in. Ty, you're right. If the Oilers play well, they can take luck out of it. The Oilers don't play well. That's, again, like they can still win, but they need luck. It's just I've thought myself into a million pretzels. I want to do something we've never done on the show, Liam. Never. We've never given out this award.
Oh, I thought you were going to do like a score prediction and not predict the Oilers to win or something like that.
No, it's our Donkey of the Day award.
Oh, wow.
Brought to you by nobody, because why would anyone sponsor this segment? Today, our Donkey of the Day goes out to Johnny Lazarus of Morning Cup of Hockey.
Good.
Let's take a listen to what Johnny had to say while I was on his show today. Just run the whole clip, baby.
Out of Edmonton, do you think it can be said that this is somewhat of a lose-lose for the Oilers? Because if they lose this game, it's another year not getting to the conference final. But if they win it, it's like, oh, well, they beat the Canucks without Besser and Demko. Like, you know, it's a Mickey Mouse series win. Can you get ahead of that narrative?
Do you guys swear on this show? I don't remember.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay, Johnny, fuck the narrative. As an Oilers fan, if you're a guy in that room, whoever, who gives a shit? I mean, they could be throwing out the entire Abbotsford Canucks roster tonight, and I wouldn't care. I'd want them to beat Vancouver. And yeah, teams run into injuries, man. I mean, as I know it's not on par with Besser and Demko, but like the Oilers are without Adam Henrique, who they gave up a first-round pick for, Connor McDavid, Zach Hyman, Leon Draisaitl, Evander Kane, Matthias Ekholm. They are not skating on off days because they're banged up. Like, it's the playoffs. Everyone goes through shit.
Yeah.
Well said, Tyler.
Is tonight a lose-lose for the Oilers?
Your facial reaction is so good.
The idea of star players, like, what do you call it? A Mickey Mouse series?
Yeah.
Okay, so does Dallas beating Colorado become a Mickey Mouse win because they didn't have Nichushkin?
Yes.
Does Boston's Game 7 win over Toronto become Mickey Mouse because Austin Matthews missed 2 games?
Yes.
Also, Joseph Wall missed that game too. Like, that's such a weak talking point. I like Johnny a lot. Don't get me wrong. But like, come on, we're a bit better than that. I think that like star players are going to get hurt in the playoffs, and it's the lumps you have to take to go and win the Stanley Cup. And like you said, like it's not on the same level by any means. But the Oilers have been without Adam Henrique, who was their first line left winger to start the playoffs, and throughout the entire first round, granted 1 goal, but no, a win is a win. It doesn't matter, and it's unfortunate, like you said. Like we would love to play Brock Besser tonight, but go on. I can see you're itching to pull up a comment here.
Polar Bear. If the Oilers didn't have their stars, I doubt Canucks fans would consider this series a Mickey Mouse series. It's all cope. Let me just build on that. If the Oilers were without McDavid or Draisaitl, one of them, and lost this series, you know what people would be saying? Oh, yeah, there you go. I take away the Oilers' stars and they can't win shit. They wouldn't be using it as some defense of the Oilers saying, oh, well, don't worry. If Edmonton had Draisaitl, they would have won. No, they'd be sitting there being like, that's why you build depth. That's why the Oilers will never win. 2-man team. So anyways, respectfully, no.
I don't want to
and disrespectfully, fuck off, Johnny.
Yeah. I don't want to bring it to basketball on a hockey show, but I brought up the Raptors. KD tore his Achilles, Clay tore his ACL. Is that banner still hanging up there?
Yeah.
It doesn't say KD tore his Achilles. It says champions.
The other part of it too is like in the moment, yeah, sure. I'm sure some people say that it's like, and it's a legit excuse. They don't have Besser and Demko. It's a fair comment to make. But in multiple years, however far the Oilers get, if they win tonight, lose tonight, whatever, like no one's gonna look back when they go on Wikipedia and type in the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs and be like, oh yeah, the Oilers didn't have beat the
There's no asterisk.
Canucks. No, it's a win's a win, is what it is.
Yeah.
Also, Ekholm playing injured. I think he's more sick than injured, but
he's both.
Is he both?
He's both.
Okay. There you go.
All right, let's wrap up the show with our Betway Game Day betting challenge. You can get a free bet worth up to $200 if your first bet loses with our friends over at Betway. Simply download the app, place a wager, and if your first bet loses, that's right, you could get access to a $200 free wager. How do you sign up, you're asking? Simply scan the QR code that's on your screen right now and redeem your bonus. Place a bet, no minimum amount required. And if that bet loses, you'll get a refund up to $200. You can then use that money to keep betting on your favorite sports. This offer only available outside of Ontario. Game day betting challenge. Give me the board here. What do we got for standings? I'm just a hair under. Jay struggling. You and Jay riding with the same bet. Keeping it simple.
There's one thing that needs to be accomplished tonight, and there's an Oilers victory in regulation because I don't want overtime. My heart cannot take it. And quite frankly, like, this game should not go to overtime.
Nope.
And I don't want to disrespect the Canucks because they have been fantastic through the series. But the Oilers were so good in game 6 and just found a way to basically limit them. And I know the change in home ice and everything, but like that should not be a factor for the Oilers tonight. They should still be able to beat this team.
Absolutely. I'm going Oilers win. McDavid 2+ points. Back against the wall. Big gun comes through. Connor McDavid will have a night. Oilers will win this thing. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Go.
Let's go. I don't know what I'm sitting here like, hey, we got real life from 2 to 3. You can look forward to that later. And then we got pregame at 6 o'clock tonight, live from Greta. You can join us down at Greta if you want to watch the game this evening. AB, Waz, Brett, Pat, the crew out there watching this one. AB,
it's gonna be lit. I
lit.
guarantee a stressful good time. And we said start your long weekend at Greta. Why don't you finish it at Greta?
Greta weekend.
Even you showed up.
I did go the other day.
Yeah, you were there on Saturday.
I went on Saturday. The dance floor was
full of
boogies.
Boogeymen. Greta, your spot downtown, pregame, postgame, or during the game. Their TV setup is legit. They'll have the big projector out on the dance floor with the game tonight. So giddy up. Shout out to our friends over at Greta. All right, man.
All right, Tyler.
What the hell do we do for the rest of the day to kill time?
I'm gonna enjoy my day. I watched
you're gonna enjoy just sitting around?
Nerves? I am not stressed. And I've changed my personality about the Oilers because I was riding a roller coaster way too hard a lot of the season. So I'm good. I'm going into the game. I'm nervous, but like I'm good. I'm gonna go home. I'm gonna finish off some stuff. I got some ideas in my mind. Before the game, I'm gonna watch Clarkson's Farm. Now that I'm a farmer.
What?
How was your farming this weekend?
It was good. I planted a lot. I pissed it down all day yesterday when I was out in the field, which is super frustrating. But we had one of
the life of a farmer. You should have read the almanac. So it was going to be a wet spring the whole time.
We had one of our little cousins come out and help us yesterday at the farm.
Yeah, were they actually useful?
Yeah, they planted some pumpkins, so that was good. I'm excited for pumpkin season. So we planted pumpkin, zucchini, squash, corn, carrots, peas, beans, corn.
Whose farm is this?
Barber's farm out in Mundare. Yeah, so it's a big farm.
Waz says Gregor and Liam launch a farming show.
Gregor and Liam's farm. Gregor,
you got to find a better name than that.
All right. I want to wrap up with this from Gregor. A little bit more insight before we let the people go. Also, Dangerous Wade, Liam pro child labor. Weird. Canucks and Oilers Game 7 history from Jason Gregor. Tonight is the 197th Game 7 in NHL history. The home team is 115-87 all-time and 2-0 in 2024, due for a loss. Edmonton 7-4 in Game 7s, while Vancouver is 6-6. Edmonton 1-2 in round 2 Game 7s. Vancouver 0-2 in round 2 Game 7s. He outlined some past heroes for the Edmonton Oilers: Curry, Anderson, Lamb, Tikkanen, Marchand, Joseph, and of course number 97, Connor McDavid. Who will be the hero tonight? Edmonton looking to punch their ticket to the Western Conference Finals. Edmonton looking to keep their season alive. Edmonton looking to finish off the series comeback and live to see another day. Nerves are at an all-time high, but we're riding with you.
We're all aboard.
Woo-wee. Game 7, 7 o'clock puck drop tonight. Pre-game on the boards. He starts at 6 right here on the Oilersnation YouTube. New episode of Real Life drops later on this afternoon as well. Do your best to calm the nerves during the day, Oilers fans.
Good luck.
I don't think I'll be calm until it's... The only way I'm calm is if it's a 3-goal lead with under 5 minutes to go in the third.
Not even.
Sure, fair enough.
Couldn't even.
Honestly, Final buzzer needs to go.
Yeah.
Fat lady needs to sing.
Fat lady needs to sing. All right. Thanks for tuning in today, everybody. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button if you don't mind. For a lot of you, holiday Monday, so enjoy your downtime as well. And guess what? We'll be right back here tomorrow at noon Mountain Time, hopefully getting set for the Western Conference Final. Enjoy the game tonight.
Thank you for watching Oilers Nation Every Day. Hit the subscribe button to never miss a show. And for more, visit OilersNation.com.